And Strait surrendered over 1,500 men, and Forrest had less than 500 left. And then when he found out that he had Forrest outnumbered, he wanted Forrest to give them their guns back and let them fight it out like men.
Yeah, I guess.
And this area here was still your free state of Winston during the war. They fought for the Union. We think that one's from Davy Crockett era when they came through here. This road bed that goes down and fords the creek and goes up the other side, Davy Crockett and his men came through in the early 1800s going to Horseshoe Bend to fight with Andrew Jackson.
Okay.
And this one, and see, here's a 6-pounder that was found just south of Spring Hill up here. A guy found it in a rock wall, and it had been fired. That's a 24-pounder that was fired at Fort Sumter, and that's a 12-pounder. 44 rimfire Frank Wesson model. This is the first model. It doesn't have an ejector. And when you fired it, the front trigger opened it, and then the second trigger fired it. But when you opened it back up, you had to take your knife and pop the hull out. Hot diggity.
Man, no pressure either.
And this is me 35 years ago when I used to have a Colt revolving rifle. Guys, if you want to put hats on, they're
good dynamite.
Guns you can hold and snap your picture.
Imagine you had
And
to
the
do
men's
that
saddle
for
seat, they
3
had the
feet of
restrooms
wood every
in
day. Run with it from
That's a good gun for people to have.
This lady told me that.
Just imagine having to reload it.
for years.
And in the middle of a battle, you couldn't hardly call time out. 60, that's your second national Confederate flag. See what most people complain about, this is not the Confederate flag. This is strictly a battle flag. There was almost 100,000 blacks fought under this flag. But when they first, this is your first national Confederate flag, your stars and bars. There was only 7 states in April when the war started. But in May, 4 more succeeded, so there was 11. But after 2 years, these were getting some tattered and torn in the battlefields. They were getting mixed up with the American flag. So they came out with a stainless banner. That's that one. And it was fine until it got wrapped around the stick in battle. And then it looked like surrender. And then February, before the war ended in April, they added the little red strip. That's your third national. And the one that everybody complains about, you can fly these 3 all day long, nobody knows what they are. They don't even teach it in school, and these are the only 3 actual Confederate flags. This one,
They had sunglasses like that.
this one's got a button. You want to get a picture? Here's this hand right here.
The Battle of Thunder Beach.
Look at your beach out there.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
There you go.
That's a good one.
This guy here's still lovely.
30 seconds ago.
I just got this one. It's a dual caliber. And this one here is still loaded in here. Pick it up and feel of it. It won't hurt. And the fuse. And it's this one's set for 3 seconds after it was fired.
Right.
So it'd throw the shrapnel down on the man charging.
How did the fuse work, though?
Well, it led it when you. Did you see the picture up here where the cannonball was strapped on to the powder charge?
Okay.
And it was turned, and then when they fired it, that activated the fuse in the.
But I mean, was it like a powder fuse? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's set to go off 3 seconds. Now, that biggest one, it's been disarmed. That's a 60-pounder there.
That's still
That's a
alive?
solid shot.
Oh, okay. Tell me about this cannon you got up there.
That was cast in Tampa, Florida, from an old mold that was found in the back of a steel plant. My brother-in-law at the time, he cast 2 of them. He cast him one out of bronze and cast me one out of iron and gave it to me.
Okay.
3 weeks ago, he sold me the bronze one. He brought it up to me from Florida. It had been laying in his yard for 20 years. And he sold me the bronze one now. So, from America, 1863. And it's written up in the Lord's book as being very rare.
Well, what about this cannon?
That's a mortar. That's a reproduction. This one shoots flaming tennis balls. You soak them in lighter fluid. And then you put the fuse in there and fire it.
That's some real fun taste.
Oh, yeah.
Now this is a horse blanket.
Almost like a potato cannon, only a little more dangerous.
This lady from Winfield over here, she said, if I send you a horse blanket, would you display it? I said, sure. I thought I was going to get a saddle blanket.
That's a real one.
That's a skint horse. You know what his name was? Supper. Forest buried the men that was killed here. Yeah, they used to be sinkholes in here all the time. And 7.5 years ago, we had the ladies with the cadaver dogs come down, and they went nuts here. 2.5 years ago, they x-rayed this, and there's actually ditches dug here. My son called a guy about the mass graves. He said, well, if it's on high ground and runs east to west, he said, more likely it is.